It's about damn time we finally get some positive news around the New Orleans Saints. And to be quite honest, I never really thought that I would be sitting here saying, thank God Derek Carr is coming back from injury. Reports coming from Dennis Allen are pretty optimistic that the Saints quarterback will be able to return this week against the Carolina Panthers after missing multiple weeks due to an oblique injury. And he's only missed 3 games, but those 3 games feel like a lifetime. And to be honest, it feels like it's been a lifetime since those first 2 games. And it feels like it's an entirely different season at this point. And, ever since Derek Carr has not left the team, but ever since he's been injured and he's been ruled out and missing games, this offense has been atrocious. They haven't been good. They've been very, very, very bad. They've been in a bad situation offensively. They're in a bad situation defensively. Special teams has been a mess. And Derek Carr this season has been able to be pretty productive. This is an interesting, discussion, though, because a lot of the players that Derek Carr was able to put up these stats you see on your screen with, a lot of those guys are hurt. A lot of those guys aren't playing this week. And a lot of those guys, funny enough, are on IR, unfortunately. And so, it's good news for Derek Carr, no doubt about it. But my big thing is it too little too late? And, just more context on this injury update. Dennis Allen did speak about it. Talked about how he looked at practice today in his first day throwing, officially throwing in the last few weeks. Said he looked good in the throwing session. I would expect him to be back out at practice on Wednesday, which he was. And then we'll go from there and see what his availability is this week. But I'm optimistic about it. And all the reports around Derek Carr have been positive coming out of practice today, indicating that he is likely to play. They're optimistic that he's going to play. And now it's just a matter of them stacking days and making things happen. But, guys, we don't get a lot of injury news. It's been very brutal. I mean, the injury bug has taken a massive bite in the Saints' ass. So it's time to celebrate some positive injury news. Derek Carr, whether you love him or hate him, you love to see a player come back from injury. So like the video if you're pumped up that the New Orleans Saints finally have something positive worth talking about. And, really quick before we go to saving the season, if Derek Carr isn't a reason to like the video, well, guess what? Eric McCoy, he's not going to be back this week, but he will likely be back this season. So you might get your center back. So if that's good news to you, hit the thumbs up icon. Now, there's a discussion around whether or not this season can be saved and whether or not Derek Carr can save the season. And to be honest with you, this is not a very inspirational quote. After the Saints starting the season 2-0 and going down a 6-game losing streak for the first time since 2005, there are 9 games remaining, and it's going to take a miracle to make the postseason. And Derek Carr today, he understands that there is pressure and that there's a lot of things that need to go right for the Saints to have a postseason, to make the playoffs, and, what it's like to be on a struggling team. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not necessarily sure what I make of this quote, because it's not very inspiring, but it also is kind of like, okay, I get it. It's realistic. Quote from Derek Carr today, "I'm no savior. There has only been one of those, and that is not me. I'm here to be a great leader and to be a great teammate and to do my job to the best of my ability." And just a couple thoughts. I totally agree with him. I totally agree. His job is to come in and be the absolute best that he can possibly be. It is unrealistic to expect Derek Carr to be the savior. It's unrealistic to expect Derek Carr to be able to go 9-0 over these next few games. I mean, maybe you can get right against the Panthers. This might be the first season ever I project the Saints to lose a game to the Falcons. But the Falcons are much better than the New Orleans Saints right now. I hate saying it. And it's literally like bleach in my mouth. It sucks to say, but it's the truth. The Browns, you're going to more than likely, unless there's an injury, you're going to be having a Jameis Winston revenge game. That's not going to be a free win. They just beat the Ravens for the record. Week 12 is the bye. Shout out the bye week. Can't lose that week. The Rams, not confident. Just not. A few weeks ago, I'd have been like, yeah, no problem against Daniel Jones and the frickin' Giants. Are you kidding me? I just genuinely don't. I can't confidently say we're going to beat the Giants. We're definitely not going to beat the Commanders. Week 16 in Green Bay in December, yeah, that's a loss. Week 17 against the Raiders, maybe, just maybe, you find some way to win that one. I know Derek Carr is going to be fired up for that game. But that's, like, my point being, on these next 8 games in the next 9 weeks, you have a bye week. In 2 games, I'm confident you can win. 3 games, I'm confident you can win. Like, just to be straight up, my biggest fear is that the New Orleans Saints go on a win streak here. Whether they rattle off 5 or 6 wins, or maybe they win 7 or 8, the worst thing, in my opinion, that could happen to the New Orleans Saints is that they go 10-7, or that they go 9-8, like 8-9. Like, that's the worst possible scenario, in my opinion, for the New Orleans Saints. Right now, you have the 6th overall pick. It's pretty good real estate. And even if you're not in love with any of the players that are at the top of the draft, guess what? You can trade down, stack up more picks for the future. And I don't think that that's a bad way of going about it either. I mean, look, this is a situation where you either have to win out or you have to embrace being bad. I don't think you can go and win 4, 5, 6 games and get to 8-9, get to 9-8, get to 10-7, and just miss the playoffs, have the 20th overall pick, like 15th, 8th, whatever it is. Like, pick one or the other. Go and win every single game, or just embrace being bad. Embrace playing some of your young rookies. See what you got in some of those guys and see what happens. Because, to be honest, like, Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener weren't great. They weren't. But for a team that has 2 wins, that hasn't won since August, September, like my point being, this team is on a historically bad downward spiral. You could ride it out with one of those 2. You could have them each go and be like, you know what? Shout out Derek Carr. He's our QB1. He's making a lot of money. We also have a really bad football team. We got to figure out which one of these 2 young quarterbacks we want to roll with. At least we want to keep around, because in my personal opinion, I don't think it makes sense to keep Jake Haener, Spencer Rattler forever and ever and ever. Amen. But you see what I'm saying? Like, you could either go and try and win it every single game, have Derek Carr out there, knowing that you don't have a healthy roster, knowing that you're lacking top-end talent because a lot of them are injured, and understanding that you have incompetence leading your football team in Mickey Loomis and Dennis Allen. Look, I don't think it's a bad option to say, you know what, let's let the young quarterbacks play, see if we can get them some confidence, see if we can get them figured out, see what we got here, and maybe we have to draft something at the early stages of the first round. I don't know. I don't think it's a terrible option. Now, I'll ask you this question. Who should start? Derek Carr, Jake Haener, Spencer Rattler. Right now, as things stand, Derek Carr will be the quarterback, assuming things all go well this week. Jake Haener will be officially named the backup. Spencer Rattler will be the third-string quarterback. I don't think it's too much of an indication. A lot of people are going to get really up in arms about, where these 2 guys are on the roster. I genuinely wouldn't. He is your starting quarterback. He is the one who will be taking snaps. When it comes to these 2 guys, look, Rattler did not play well. Haener did not play well. Neither of them really jumped off the screen, in my opinion. So for these 2 guys, look, Rattler deserves a chance to develop. He's a rookie. He deserves a freaking chance. So if you're in the camp of cut Spencer Rattler, shame on you. Jake Haener, he showed some good things. Don't get me wrong. There was some really nice flashes. But I wasn't sold enough. I wasn't wowed. I wasn't shocked. I was like, okay, some good stuff. Awesome. But we're not being great. We're not being consistently good. You know what I'm saying? So just kind of my little TED talk about these 3. But again, who should start? Now, coming up next, we're going to go through the Week 9 injury report for the New Orleans Saints. It is a long list, almost 30 total names between between the Panthers and the New Orleans Saints. But before we get into that, I got to say shout out to one of my favorite sponsors we have here at Chat Sports, and that is Game Time, the best ticketing app in the whole wide world. And if you're like me and you like going to concerts, comedy shows, sporting events, and everything in between, then you should check out the Game Time app, because not only do they have the best seats, lowest price guaranteed, you can also actually get $20 off your first purchase with code CHATSPORTS. Now, Maddie and I, we're going to go see a country band here in Dallas, Texas by the name of Whiskey Myers, one of my favorite bands. And she was able to get tickets. She was able to save a few bucks. And, hey, that means I'm probably going to go get myself a T-shirt at the show, thanks to our promo code CHATSPORTS. Game Time also has a new feature called Game Time Picks. It makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. They filter out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats. So download the great Game Time app today. Create an account and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Once again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. All the information is in the comments and description of this video. What time is it? It's game time. Injury report time. Some good news, some bad news, just news in general. So in terms of players who did not participate, there were only 6 names, which I know 6 is a lot, but to say only 6 feels pretty nice, to be quite honest. Marshon Lattimore, he is dealing with a hamstring injury. He did not participate at practice today. Tyrann Mathieu missed practice with an illness, so pretty good news there. I think he'll be okay to play this week. Bub Means, late in the game last week, he got shaken up, dealing with an ankle injury. Really sucks to see him get hurt because I've been pretty impressed, not blown away, but pretty impressed with the limited action we've seen from him. Kendre Miller, he's dealing with a hamstring injury. Where have I heard that? Oh, yeah, the beginning of the season when he was dealing with a hamstring injury, and he was placed on IR. But interesting to note here, it's the other hamstring. It's his other leg. So, yeah, here we are, our sweet TCU Horned Frog Prince. I honestly, I'm very high on Kendre Miller. It pisses me off that he keeps getting hurt. Rico Payton, one of the best stories for the New Orleans Saints. He is dealing with a back injury, a cornerback that made the roster out of Pitt State. He's a good player. He's been very impressive this season. So when his name's been called, he's answered, and I hope that he can get back on the field. Cedric Wilson, still dealing with a hip injury, missed last week. You know, maybe he can play this week. I see people in the chat saying release Kendre Miller. That legitimately could not be. That legitimately is the dumbest idea I've ever heard. Enrico Payton doesn't even play from Debo the God. Debo, just say you don't watch Saints football because he's been playing more snaps than you would assume. He's been getting a lot of run. Derek Carr, he was a limited participant. Good news there. Same with Juwan Johnson with the shoulder injury. He did avoid a concussion, so that's really good news there. Alvin Kamar, he's been dealing with a lot of injuries. Hand, rib, hip, headaches, eye aches, just being pissed off all the time. Yeah, that's me as well. Most of that's just a joke. But he is dealing with a hand and rib injury. Jamal Williams with a groin injury. Nick Saldiveri, he was limited, so maybe getting some extra depth in the offensive line. And Kool-Aid McKinstry as well, a limited participant. Obviously, the cornerback group needs to get some of these guys healthy because when it comes down to it, Paulson Adebo out for the season with a broken femur. Marshon Lattimore dealing with an injury. That means Kool-Aid McKinstry, Rico Payton, those guys are hurt. So who's your one star, or who's your one healthy cornerback? Delonte Taylor, number 1 himself. Now, injury update around Chris Olave. This is actually pretty interesting here. So, during practice today, Chris Olave was wearing a Guardian cap. And if you guys don't know, it's those big mushroom head looking things that go on top of the helmets that offensive linemen a lot of linemen are wearing them this year, some receivers, but a lot of the guys in the trenches are wearing them predominantly. It's because they're taking a lot of hits, a lot of contact, a lot of trauma to the head, so it does a lot more to protect their head. And interesting enough, he was wearing a Guardian cap that looked like the Saints helmet. Catherine Terrell putting out a post earlier in a report that he was wearing it and that, maybe this is because he's going to wear it for game day. But Nick Underhill shutting that down. He has no plans to wear it in the game. Should he? I mean, the aura looks really a lot better whenever he doesn't have the Guardian cap. But he's also a lot better when he's on the field. So if that means he has to wear a Guardian cap, I'm all for player safety, and I'm all for keeping Chris Olave on the field. Now, we do have 2 full participants. Good news for both of these guys. Their practice windows to return were both today, so both of these guys full participant. Shane Lemieux, again, offensive line might be getting a little extra depth back, and Nefi Sewell, the linebacker, plays a lot of special teams, does get some linebacker run. He's dealing with a knee injury, so he is back at practice as well. Now, tomorrow is Halloween. So I got to ask, what is your Halloween costume? Maddie and we had a Halloween party this past weekend. I dressed up in a Hawaiian shirt and one of those fishing hats, Chaco sandals, all that fun stuff. And then she dressed up with boxing gloves, a robe, the box braids, all that kind of stuff that girls do. So we were Hawaiian Punch. Pretty fun idea. So I want to know, what is your Halloween costume, or what are you dressing up with the kids, all that fun stuff. Who Dat Nation, y'all stay golden, Happy Halloween, be safe, and we'll see you next time.